Hello, everybody. This is Brian with Making Action Happen and Action Colorado. We've talked about this on the show a few times, but going forward once a week, sometimes twice, depending on how busy it is, I'm going to be putting together a short 10-minute video to let you know what the bills we are monitoring, opposing, supporting, and what we're doing with those and how they impact you, how they impact our membership, how they impact Southern Colorado and rural Colorado, and actually all of Colorado as a whole. I know people don't have the time to monitor the hundreds of bills that are being discussed, introduced, worked on at the Capitol. So hopefully this will give you some insight on some of the heavier ones that we're looking at that have a direct impact to your way of life. So starting off, I will put all these bills in the comments so you can click on them, read them in depth, read the language, see where they're at, when the hearings are. And if you want to testify, you want to submit comment or have your voice be heard, let me know. There is a process. You can email me at brian@actioncolorado.org. Okay. The first bill that we will be looking at is House Bill 1098. This is cause required for eviction of residential tenant. Now, we are opposed to this. Action Colorado did take a stance on this. What this does is it adds more protections, roadblocks, however you want to word it, for a property owner not to renew a lease of a tenant. Basically, we feel that the protection of tenants' rights is a huge thing. It's important, and there are plenty of protections already, and this just makes it tougher for somebody that's a property owner to not renew a lease or evict a tenant. So we are opposed to that. We have a bunch of energy and oil and gas and emissions bills. I recommend you go to our latest episode of Making Action Happen with Koga CEO and president. We go into detail on these and why we are opposed to them, which we are, and how it will impact you and how it will impact our communities. But I'll go through the list of those real fast just so you're aware. It's Senate Bill 159, which is the MATA energy and carbon management processes. Senate Bill 165, the air quality improvements. Senate Bill 166, air quality enforcement. Senate Bill 095, which is air quality ozone levels. And there is one that we didn't really talk about on the show, and I'll get into it after that. But these bills, Action Colorado, at our board meeting, we did take a position of opposition on all of these bills just because of the negative impacts. And basically what they're doing is trying to get rid of oil and gas completely in the state of Colorado, switch to only solar and wind as our energy sources, and also get rid of gasoline cars, the all electric cars. So good intentions, I think, but the way they're going about it is we don't agree with it. So we're opposed to these. Another one that came up again from the last session is Senate Bill 09 or House Bill 1175, House Bill 1175. It's the local government's rights to property for affordable housing. Now, I'll read the description of this and tell you why we're opposed. But concerning a local government right of first refusal or offer to purchase qualifying multifamily property for the purpose of providing long-term affordable housing or mixed income development. Now, this was part of the whole land use, property, local government, local control stuff. We were opposed to this. We are opposed to it now. And it's basically, it's if somebody wants to sell their house, the local government has the first right of refusal. It takes a long time. I know the real estate market, you have to move fast. This just gums up the system even more. And I think it would be counterintuitive to get houses on the market if I want to sell my house and then I have to sit around for months to get word from the local government if they're going to buy it or when they're going to buy it, and then wait some more. And you know, sometimes people want to move, or their new house, rides contingent on the sale of the house that they're selling right now. So that's it. We're opposed to that. One that seems kind of boring at first that I think a lot of people glanced over, but I think is really important to rural Colorado, is House Bill 1235, and that's the reduce aviation impacts on communities. What this is it grows the it's basically like a commission that regulates airports by two people, but in it, it sets more rules and regulations regarding noise mitigation over populated areas, But what else it does is by 2026, airports have to have a plan to phase out leaded gasoline for airplanes. Now, sounds great. We've done that with cars, get rid of the leaded gas. Unfortunately, smaller aircraft, rotary engine aircraft, only work on leaded gas. Now, they do use, and I'm by no means an expert on this, they use aviation gas or av gas, and it is low lead levels. The FAA and the feds are actually helping with the airline industry develop an unleaded aviation fuel, but they're just not there yet. So, to put this, they're working on it. Everybody's working on it. But this is the state saying no. And then if you don't get rid of the leaded gasoline in airports, you charge a fee of, I think it's 50 cents a gallon. I think they may have taken this out, but it's just not going to happen. It's impossible. Now for rural airports, as you know, whether it's your crop dusting, recreational flight, small planes, they all use leaded gasoline. That's it. There is no ifs, ands, or buts. That's what they use. That's the only thing that works. That's what's available. And like I said, the unleaded gas that's being developed is unsafe for smaller aircraft. The other thing is a lot of these smaller rural airports, I just spoke to someone in Grand Junction, but Pueblo specifically, La Junta, and even all over the state, the Department of Defense refuels their aircrafts. And like here in Pueblo, we have DOS L3 Aviation that trains future pilots of the Air Force, Army, and, all the flyboys out there in the military. But those are small aircraft that purchase fuel from the Pueblo airport, which is owned by Pueblo, and it is leaded gas. And so what happens if that happens? Does this go away? DOS Aviation has a huge economic impact on Pueblo. We want them to stay here. We've been great partners. They've been great partners. And I think this could be detrimental for the Pueblo airport specifically, and all of rural airports. Another one, this is another air pollution one, House Bill 1339. Now, there is a push right now to basically build, and I think this is the bill that does it. If not, it's going to be introduced. But what's happening is the state wants to set up an Office of Environmental Justice and implementing environmental equity and cumulative impacts analysis. So basically an environmental justice department. I have heard, and we've seen, and once this bill is introduced, if it hasn't been yet already, that this is specifically targeting Commerce City, which I think is one of the worst polluted areas in the state of Colorado. But also they're considering Pueblo with this. They're saying that Pueblo County should be included in this. I was at a Pueblo Council meeting, and they were furious. There has been massive reductions in pollution levels and pollution output in Colorado, of which Pueblo has contributed 38% to that reduction. Pueblo's doing it better, if not best, in the state when it comes to the size of our city and the output of the pollution, all this stuff. And what this would do if Pueblo's included on that, it's kind of like saying, giving us a bad name, and Pueblo gets a bad rap already, which is not true in my opinion. But it says, Commerce City and Pueblo are the most polluted parts of the state. I do not agree with this. Anybody in Pueblo should not agree with this. Some might, but it just makes us look bad. And then again, it adds more rules, regulations, and control over what we can and can't do on a local level. A lot of this stuff, my opinion, and also Action Colorado's opinion, should be solved at a local level. So opposed to that, it's not all doom and gloom. We do have some good ones that we are in support of. A big one is House Bill 1231, which is state funding for higher education projects. This assists some of these universities, colleges around the state in construction and costs of expanding, growing departments, and repairs. So this directly impacts colleges in Southern Colorado. They really need it. Part of it focuses on medicine. Another part focuses on veterinary medicine. And as you know, we're short on healthcare providers, whether it's a nurse or a doctor, and we're short on veterinarians. And ag is one of the most important industries in Colorado that contributes to our economy and also the food security of the United States and even some of the surrounding countries. So we need more veterinarians, we need more doctors, and some of these institutions, these universities, these colleges throughout rural Colorado, they need a little help because we're seeing more and more people go there to get a quality education, and this assists them in covering some of the costs. Another one is House Bill 24-1160. This is the Economic Development Organization Act grant program. This is the creation of the Economic Development Organization Action Grant Program. So literally what I just said as the title is what it does. This really helps out specifically in rural areas, these economic growth organizations. This is just a grant funding for them to assist them in economic growth, recovery, all of that fun stuff, development. House Bill 1018 is the college textbook sales use tax exemption. This one's kind of near and dear to Action Colorado. Through our Leadership Policy and Governance Academy, we had Nicholas DeSalvo, who was kind of the guy that, really wrote this bill, and he went through the academy and learned how to do it. And it exempts sales tax on school books for colleges. Anybody that's been to college knows that, you have your tuition and then you have your books, and they're probably about the same price. This just gives a little bit of financial relief to our college students because everything's expensive and they won't have to pay sales tax on their often thousands of dollars of textbooks to go to school. Another one that there's actually two versions of this, I believe, or a second version coming out. This is Senate Bill 106. And of course, all these bills, it's 24 dash whatever the number is. If anybody doesn't know, that just means it's in the year 2024, this session. But this is the right to remedy construction defects. This is a big one. I know El Paso County has been working on this really hard. A few years ago, there was some legislation that made it easier to sue a construction company, whether it's over defects, messing up. I don't remember the details of it, but you saw a lot of construction companies stop doing business in Colorado. They just said it wasn't worth it. This bill goes back and fixes some of these things. I think it's more like a hindsight bill. Like, we went all in on this. Now it's time to adjust it. But in a time that housing development, affordable living, specifically condominiums, apartment complexes, it's tough to find somebody to build these, or even if they want to, because of the liability of building one in Colorado. This fixes some of those issues. Again, I think they're going to introduce, if they haven't, a bipartisan bill on this that does similar things, but it is much needed, especially with our housing crisis going on, not only here in Colorado, but everywhere. But it'll just be a little easier for construction companies to come in and build some affordable housing. That's all I have. That's what we're working on this week. These were our big ones that we'll be testifying on and submitting comments and following closely for our membership. If you have any questions, again, just email me, brian@actioncolorado.org, Brian, BRIAN, at action, ACTION, Colorado, COLORADO.org. And I'll answer those questions. If you want to submit comments or you don't know how to do that, also email me as well. It's easy once you figure it out, but most people don't know. And I encourage everybody and anybody that if you have problems or you want to support these bills, please comment on it. Let your voice be heard. A lot of times we feel that nobody listens to us at the Capitol, or the politicians don't listen to us. They in fact do. And that's why it's important to let your voice be heard. Thanks. And we'll see you again next week. Bye.